Hello everyone, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and today I'm going to be giving an update on that Christmas or pre-Christmas blizzard that is swinging across the middle of the country right now. As we speak, actually, there's actually a piece of it that we're going to show you that's occurring right now. And it's going to swing through the central United States, as it's doing right now, into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley and Northeast, and very, very soon, actually. Alright, so we're just going to get right into it here and get started with the alerts, and oof, like like this getting to the point where the majority of the country is in some type of winter related alert, whether that be for cold temperatures or for like precip or like wintry precip. So we've got wind chill warnings that extend from Washington State all the way down into southern Texas, east towards the Ohio Valley. All right, that's all wind chill warnings. That's a lot of that's a lot of population. I don't know the exact number, but I'm sure it's like tens and tens of millions. All right, and then we have the heavily populated I-95 corridor. We got some flood watches and coastal flood advisories here for like Maryland, New Jersey, and Delaware. And then we have, I believe those are high wind watches up there in New England, or high wind warnings actually, because it looks like a lighter shade, because the darker shade is the high wind watch. We've got winter weather advisories here on the Appalachian Mountains, and there actually is some snow out here right now in like south central Pennsylvania. So we got the winter weather advisories. I was about to say winter storm advisory, that doesn't exist. But we do have winter storm warnings just a little bit south of there on like the western panhandle of Maryland, like around Cumberland. I know that's like a well known spot there in western Maryland, into extreme northern Virginia and northern West Virginia. We do have those winter storm warnings. And if we read into those here, you can see 4 to 7 inches, right? Just from that first initial batch. And they might get some snow on the backside once the main part swings through. But of course, winter storm warnings also out here, Kansas City, Kansas and Missouri, actually, both cities. St. Louis, we got Chicago, like Gary, Indiana. I know around here could be the snow target, is what I'm seeing here. So like southwestern Michigan, as well as around south of Buffalo, could be your two top snow targets, right? Because well, in southwestern Michigan, it's going to be because the storm's just going to hang around, the precip's going to hang around, it's going to kind of bend back around that low, and with the lake there, you're certainly going to see a little bit of enhancement. Buffalo, you could be the top target because just of lake effect, combining with that storm. We do have blizzard warnings, of course, right? That's why we're calling this the Christmas blizzard. Like Des Moines, I believe that's just outside, or could be just including Minneapolis, like Rapid City, South Dakota. All right. So those areas we do have the blizzard warnings, as well as UP and Michigan, and of course, northern parts of Michigan as well. And then we have the hard freeze warnings down south. That power grid's going to get tested. Wind chills are going to be in probably the single digits, maybe lower. Hard freeze warnings and freeze warnings. So freeze warning is like, we get below 32, blah, blah, blah. But the hard freeze warning is like, we get like into the, low 20s, and it's really, really cold, or even colder than that maybe. All right. And then we have, I believe north of there are the hard freeze watches in that medium shade of blue, and the light shade of blue, I think it's just a wind chill advisory for southern Arkansas there. Actually, let me see what that is. Yes, that is a wind chill advisory. And then down in Florida, I think these are freeze watches in Orlando. I don't know if we're gonna have it. They don't have it there yet, but there is the hard freeze watch around Wildwood and Cedar Key, and then the freeze watches go all the way down to Orlando and Point South, pretty much just about the north shore of Lake Okeechobee. So, yeah, like I said, this cold air is getting really far south, and then it's even getting down into like southern Texas, Brownsville. We got the wind chill warnings here. It's gonna get brutally cold, right, over the next couple of days. And this isn't gonna be like a one night thing. I mean, this is gonna last for like a couple of nights at least, and maybe even more. So let's get into the models here, and we're gonna start off in the Ohio Valley, kind of like in the middle here, and then we're gonna focus over to the northeast. So we might show some temperature graphs like we did last time. We can show those at the end as well, depending on the time. So here we have the GFS, and you can see the storm. That line is kind of like a swell line, if you will, is going to kind of swing in, and it's going to continue to get the energy of that front. And you can see the moderate to heavy snow that's going to fall gonna start as rain, and then on the front end for some of you, and then snow on the backside. But that cold air rushes in, and once it does, I mean, it's gonna change things over to snow and heavy snow at that, because we do have a lot of moisture with this. It's a winding up storm. It could even bomb out. Some are even calling this a once in a generation type storm, right? And then it kind of swings out. But look where it hangs around, for several hours more around Cleveland and Erie and maybe even Buffalo. So those lake areas are really going to get it. And then there's like Gary, Indiana, and southwestern Michigan, like I was mentioning earlier. They're also going to continue to get it for a longer period of time. So we're going to go out. I mean, I don't want to go out too much further because another storm kind of comes in. I don't want it to sway the snow totals. But there you go, almost 20 inches in southwestern Michigan, and along the lake from Cleveland up through Erie and probably approaching Buffalo, over 3 feet in some areas there, 2 to 3 feet. So the snow is really going to come down there. And the wind, too. We're going to take a look at the wind, actually. Since we're closer to that storm arrival, we're going to take a look at the winds. Here's 6 to 12 inches, Indiana, Ohio. Right, again, briefly sunny as rain for some of you, and then switching to snow. Over a foot in some places, the Appalachians in eastern West Virginia, and even in the Smoky Mountains. All right, not too far away from Asheville, kind of north of there, maybe over 6 inches there as well. So this is the GFS model, again, painting a pretty dark picture here, or a pretty white picture, I should say. It's pretty bright. You got the white snow, and there's going to be a lot of it. So here's the 0Z run of the Euro model. And again, you can see these temperatures are just going to crash. I mean, you got to realize temperatures are going to, like, just from the initial passing, right? Like as soon as the line crosses over you, temperatures are going to drop like 20 plus degrees. And then even more as the storm gets further away. So there's going to be a big drop in temperatures. Then you guys are going to freeze over quickly. So even if it is rain, like we're going to see, I'm going to show you a bit later, even if it's just rain, like with the 95 corridor, you're going to see a rapid freeze up there too. Temps are going to fall into the teens and single digits with wind chills lower. I know like ice doesn't really matter with wind chill, but to us, that's what we feel on our skin. So the wind chills are going to be, what you want to look at if you want to know what to bundle up for. So again, there's your snow. The line kind of bends up to the north here. You're going to get a reinforcing shot of cold air that's going to change most of this kind of like rain batch into snow. Right, because you see like half of it is almost like rain, and that rain kind of disappears as that cold air invades. It changes most of that over to snow. And then storm kind of kicks out, but the cold air, as you can see by the blue lines, the 540 line, which is kind of like what we call our rain snow line-ish. It's not like verbatim, but it's all the way down here. So yeah, you can just tell how cold it's going to be just from that. And then snow totals, so we'll go out to like Monday or Sunday night-ish. Now, okay, so Euro is going to be way off. I know you're looking at this like 2 inches, huh? Okay, so this is, again, like I mentioned this last video if you were watching, because they assume a 10-to-1 snow ratio, and I can already tell you it's going to be a lot more than that. Like these places, the snow to liquid ratio is going to be 20 or even 24 to 1. So I would say double or more than double these snowfall totals. So widespread 6 inches plus. And you remember, that doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, this is coming on top of very cold air. It's going to be blowing around, right? And that's all you need. You don't need 2 feet of snow. I used to believe that when I was really little. Like, you need a lot of snow to have a blizzard. It's not true. You just need, a ground blizzard, you don't need any snow. You just need snow on the ground with wind. But for like a normal blizzard, you do want some sort of snow to be falling in the 35 plus mile an hour winds, a quarter mile less visibility, and lasting for 3+ hours. And we're definitely going to have that. And remember, more than double these, and that would be what the Euro is actually calling for. Sadly, I cannot get to the Kuchera, the more accurate ratio of snow. But like over here, where it says like 6 to 12, again, more than double that. So probably like 1 to 2 feet up there by the lakes. But even if you more than double these, I would say Euro is definitely on the lower end side. But still, over 6 inches, anywhere like in that moderate shade of blue, I would say this counts as over 6 inches of snow. So here's a Canadian model, and we'll get to see the more accurate, snow liquid ratio. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Right? I guess sort of similar to the Euro model. Their colors are generally lighter, as I mentioned last video. But you can see the snow moves in. It's out by like Friday into Saturday. But even here, you can see with the more accurate snow to liquid ratio, you can still see where we have the 6 to 10 inches in here. Nearly 2 feet around northern Indiana, southwestern Michigan, and then you're 1 to 2 plus feet on the lakes. But on this one, looks like most of this heaviest snow is just on the lake. So if you live right on the lake shore, the closer you get to the lake, the more snow you might get up there by Cleveland. Well, when I was setting this up, we had the 6Z run of the NAM, but now the 12Z run just came out, so we're going to get a nice fresh look. I haven't even seen this yet, so we're both watching this the first time together. So here is the NAM model. You can see that trough is just digging down, and you got the front right here, so that snow is just kicking in for Indiana. You can see where the heavier snow is. Again, as I've said the past couple winters, closer to the rain snow line, the fatter flakes, the heavier snow. Due to those slightly higher temperatures, but we all know that temperatures are not going to be high anywhere, right? Only when the line is right over you. The temperatures might still be modest, but then they're going to crash, right? And then the snow moves out of here by Friday afternoon. So yeah, this model, the NAM model says Friday afternoon, the snow could be out of here. Snow totals, again, pretty hefty. 1 to 2 feet up there by the lakes, maybe over 2 feet in some spots, like closer to 36 inches here in Michigan. Again, where it lasts a long time, it could happen. And the totals could be lower here because, again, some areas will start as rain, but the temperatures will be crashing, so that stuff will be able to freeze pretty quickly. You can still see 3 to 6 inches with over 6 for a good chunk of Indiana here. And, of course, 1 to 2 feet near the lake. So the model seemed to be pretty good agreement. Around 6 inches for most of the Ohio Valley, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And then near the lakes in Michigan, and then in Cleveland and Erie and Buffalo, that's where you can see your 1 to 2 feet or over 2 feet snowfall totals. Let's go even more high res. Let's look at the high resolution model. All right, and let me just fix the timing on this. All right, I did set to the wrong model run here, but here's the 12Z model run, and you can see again some rain, then some little icy mix down here by down by Memphis and Little Rock. You can see the snow moves its way to the east along with the rain, and the high-resolution model wants to put in a little bit of ice mixing in with that snow there. Because remember, which does make sense, because if you think about it, we're going to have the rain out ahead of here, and the temperatures are just going to crash right away. So initially, it might be a little bit of ice. As the atmosphere, maybe needs to get cooled down a little bit more, but the temperatures at the surface are crashing. So that's where they're trying to paint that ice. Again, that's what they're depicting. Don't know if that's going to be exactly true, but they are depicting a little bit of ice maybe right as that, this line passes, this front passes through. We could see some initial areas of ice. Ice and snowy mess here right into Christmas Eve, the 23rd. So I know a lot of people are going to be doing their traveling today, which is Thursday, and tomorrow. So definitely do be careful. And of course, coming back after Christmas, travel may not be much better just because of how cold it's going to get. It's going to be tough to get that stuff off the roads. The highways might be fine by post-Christmas, but again, that's assuming another system doesn't swing through, or assuming the crews can get the roads cleared. But here's a high-resolution model painting 6 to 10 inches there, Indiana to Ohio, and then you got your 1 to 2 feet for Cleveland and Erie. And Gary, Indiana as well, got over a foot, closer to 20 inches there, southwestern parts of Michigan. Chicago, another additional few inches of snow, of course, could be on the way. And look at the snow. Getting down to Arkansas and Tennessee, around Nashville, and then the Smoky Mountains, of course, as well. So everyone can be getting in on this. All right, so we're going to switch over now to the Northeast and talk about, actually, before we start on the Northeast, let's actually take a look at some wind graphs. I do want to show how strong these winds can get. Look at these wind gusts here, 40 miles an hour. All right, so by this point, this is 1 a.m. on the Euro model. You see the fronts like right here. You can see the winds come like this and then coming in like this behind the front. Winds gusting almost 45 miles an hour in Illinois, up in New England, over 40 miles an hour. So there's going to be a lot of wind here. And you can see when the storm really starts to wind up here, the pressure gets really high, or really low, excuse me. Let me turn these on. So yeah, you can see these isobars really come together here. So you're going to have the fierce winds on the backside, fierce winds all around, really. The worst looks to be offshore, but that's like the really high winds. You can still see winds gusting close to 50 miles an hour across this entire area. And with the snow blowing around, or in I-95's case, the wind or the rain blowing around, it's not going to be pretty. Look at Maine, gusting to 60 miles an hour on the Euro there across Maine. This storm is going to really bomb out here, right? And you can see it's continuing to move to the northeast. It's going to take that wind with it, but again, Saturday, Sunday, I mean, even the Sunday it starts to wear down, but even near the lakes, I mean, Sunday afternoon, the winds are still going to be like howling. All right, so I just want to give you an idea on the winds there. All right, let's switch over to the GFS, then we'll take a look at maybe some temperature graphs towards the end. Now, the GFS does something interesting with the Mid-Atlantic, which they kind of brought back. You can see the rain moves through, and then boom. They actually do kind of paint some snow there for southeast Pennsylvania and Delaware and eastern Maryland. Spoiler alert, it's the only model that really does that. Not quite sure if it's going to happen. Again, it's all dependent on whether what the position of the low is at the time, of course, and how quick the cold air can rush in to change that over to snow. So when I was looking yesterday, at least for where I'm at, I was looking at the Weather Channel, and they were showing like the precip change happening while the temperature was like 40 degrees. Now today it's happening at around 33, so it's able to crash it over to snow as opposed to a mix. But again, it's all dependent on when that timing is. And you can see the snow does swing through. So now we got like Binghamton, Poughkeepsie, almost hitting Albany there. That kind of quick transition to snow. It'll last for like an hour or two, if that. Right? I mean, even New England, look at Vermont and Maine. It's going to be a rain event because the storm's going to be swinging up to your west, and that's not the kind of stuff you're used to. But it could still change over to snow there for a little bit. And if we look at the snowfall map, okay, 5 inches here, really, really doubtful. Again, maybe that could be what falls from the air, but I don't know if that's what's going to stick because the ground just got done being flooded with rain. Even though the temperatures are going to crash a lot and that could freeze a lot of that stuff, I don't think it's going to really crash over to too much snow. But there will be the chance for some 6-inch plus snow totals in the interior Northeast, and you can really see, like I was showing you earlier, you could kind of catch it on the other map, that 2 feet of snow that we have along the lakes there from New York down to Ohio. And around Watertown, we cannot forget you guys, over 2-3 feet there. And then, of course, Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine, you guys get some snow, but again, it's going to be more on the backside of the system. All right, let's take a look at just highlight the whole page. Let's take a look at the Euro model. Again, rain comes through. It's pretty persistent. Might get a break early Friday morning, right? Because we got the initial wave coming up like this, and now we got the front coming through like this. It's kind of like how severe weather, when you get like an initial batch coming in, and there's a break, and then the front swings through, and then that's when all the main stuff comes in. That's kind of like what's going to happen here, right? We're going to get a break in that warm sector, and then the snow is going to kind of swing through. And it's going to last in the interior Northeast a lot longer, so the snow is going to pile up more. And of course, those lakes are going to make it even more prevalent as well, the snow on the ground. So you can see again, the Euro looks a bit more realistic, but again, I would say in some areas in the interior Northeast, you could almost, I don't know if the snow to liquid ratios will be as high, so I would say you can almost double your snowfall totals, and that might be what you get. Maybe not for Pennsylvania, though. These actually look pretty close to accurate, because again, the more cold air there is, the higher you can turn up the snow to liquid ratio, and the more cold air is going to be back over here. But up here, still 6 to 12 inches, Maine, New Hampshire, down through Vermont, western Massachusetts, and those more mountainous areas. Watertown, almost 2 feet, 22.4 is what the Euro is picking up there for you guys. Let's head over to the Canadian model now. I still do want to show these models because it's not like I just don't like to show these models when the snow is happening like right now, because I feel like that's what you should use high definition models for. But it's still nice to use these short term along with some higher definition models. So the Canadian puts a lot of snow, out ahead of it, and some of the other models don't do that. Kind of changes over to rain and then back right over to snow. So you guys in New England, of course, because it's closer to Canada, Canada loves these states. You guys are gonna like the Canadian model, but again, the best thing you can do is combine the model's thinking, and then kind of combine that into your own, combine those and kind of get your forecast from there. Look at Watertown. They got 42 inches according to this. Actually, if you zoom in a little bit more, yeah, 42, 47 from those lakes. All right, 3 to 4 feet there. just south of Buffalo. I mean, you guys are gonna get it really hard. I mean, Buffalo itself might get like 6 to 10, but again, just south of there is where you're gonna get those 2-3 feet snow totals. It's kind of the same with Watertown. It's not downtown. It's kind of like to the south of there where you usually get some of that snow. So snow offshore, of course, as well. And then Long Island, Nantucket, they have getting a couple inches. So snow all around here for the interior Northeast. It's gonna be another inland runner, unfortunately, for you guys on the coast. I know I was hoping for a different scenario. All right, so here we are with the NAM model. Again, here comes that initial piece coming in from the south and west. We got some rain, we get a little break in it, and then here comes that snow on the backside. Again, how defined is it? That'll tell what we get across the northern mid-Atlantic in terms of snow. But it may not end up being all that much, but the snow does swing through the interior Northeast and New England. As you can see, kind of makes its way up to the north and east there. So let's check out that snow totals. Let's go out 84 hours. And you can see, yeah, there's your heaviest snow south of Buffalo, 40 inches. I mean, that's just a mind-boggling ton. I mean, you guys, like back in, I believe it was November, you just had like that 5-foot snow event. So this is definitely gonna, keep that water supply, nice and up and running there. 6 to 10 inches for a majority of this area, especially northern New York, But other than that, even outside of there, a few inches is not out of the off the table here. And if we take a look here at the high resolution model, and here's the snow swinging up. And again, it will start to snow because remember, it's the morning. It's still cold here in Pennsylvania, so this one's overachieving. We weren't expecting as much snow from this first batch, but it is still cold as it was in the morning. It came nice and early, helped for that snow to start, but it's going to transition to rain there. And they actually do call for, so actually this is the one other model that calls for some snow across New England, maybe in the higher elevations, before it switches over to rain and then maybe back to snow. They are also calling for a little bit of snow. There's that ice they have sticking to the center line again. There's what I was talking about earlier. They do have a little bit of snow swinging through the mid-Atlantic, but it's not much, and it kind of just swirls up into Canada. And I changed this to 12. I don't know why it went to 13. But let's take a look at let's let it play out here. Here's the snowfall math for the next 48 hours. And you can see a little bit of snow, again, for southeastern Pennsylvania, northeastern Maryland. But again, most of it, that 6+ inches, will be to the north and west, right? So central and northern Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, most of it might melt, but we will get a little reinforcing shot. And those higher elevations in New England, maybe 6 to 12 inches, so which could still be a good amount of snow there for you guys. I mean, I certainly wouldn't argue about that if I was up there. And let's take a look at those temperatures. We're going to take a look at wind chills here. And take a look at this line. Okay, so I just want to get you an idea. Like in Arkansas, for example, out ahead of it, it's going to be about 41 degrees, the wind chill. And as soon as that line passes, it's going to drop to 16. But that's definitely not the end of it, because that's just from the initial drop, from the front passing through. And then it comes through, and we're, -20. It's absolutely just brutal. All right, power grids are going to be tested to their limits here. And you can see drops through the mid-Atlantic and then in the south. I mean, even Florida. You think you're safe in Florida? Only southern Florida. All right, you're going to be safe. And even there, you're not going to be that safe because you guys are not used to 40-degree wind chills down there, I bet. So this is Saturday morning. Look at this. Orlando, lower 20s for wind chills. Southern Texas, like around Brownsville, mid-20s. All right, I mean, it's just going to be absolutely brutal. And anywhere in the purple here, there's a storm. Anywhere in the purple, all right, is going to be negatives. So basically the entire Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, Central Plains, Northern Plains, it's going to be brutal on Christmas Eve morning. And then Christmas morning, it's not going to be that much better. I mean, it's going to shift a little to the north and east, right? I mean, wind chills are in the teens and 20s. It's not as brutal, but it's still cold, all right? Still some freeze warnings. So I'm sure the actual temperatures are not far off from that. Monday morning, again, really the same thing. It's going to be in the negatives. It's again, the south gets a little better, but it's not gonna get better for a little while here, all right? And then the south definitely does improve by Tuesday morning. It's on the GFS, of course, but still single digits and negative single digits are still going to be around for the Ohio Valley. So take a look at these power outages real quick before we go here. You can see 10, 12,000 customers out in each state there in Kansas and Oklahoma. Of course, because we had that snow swing through and, of course, the frigid cold And Puerto Rico seems to be having almost 12,000 customers out right now. So, been a very interesting storm to track. Of course, I'll be keeping an eye on it as it continues to track through the Ohio Valley and Northeast. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am Dorther Dude, signing off. Till next time.